Hello team, how are you? It's Wednesday night and I know I'm early, but we're going to do a rapid fire Q&A. So I am certainly sure that there are a lot of people who might jump online, but if you're looking at this in replay, then welcome to Wednesday night rapid fire Q&A. Yeah, I know I'm 2 hours early, but as is fairly typical with my calendar, it gets kind of full up with stuff and I'm double booked. So I thought, I've had some questions come through. I'm going to address them. So I've had 3 questions come through. I'm going to spend maybe the next 10 minutes on here with you. So if you do have any questions that you want a quick answer to, post them here in the chat. What's the bet? It's a question someone else is keen to ask. So all questions are good questions. So don't be shy. If you remember our guidelines around rapid fire Q&A, I don't want to hear your life story. Really short and sweet what your question is, because you'll get a short and sweet and quite generic answer. But hopefully it will be something that will be of value to you. And if not, I know it's going to be of value to somebody else who is on here. So welcome. Really good to see you guys. All right. So when we asked for a direct message, thank you so much to those people who sent their questions through. Somebody asked me the question about IUI versus IVF for unexplained primary couples subfertility. Maria, where have I gone? Oh, I know, the curiosity is killing you, isn't it? Yeah, the curiosity is killing a lot of people. Bear with me. Bear with me, I promise you. As soon as I can, I will let you know what I'm doing, but I'm okay. So thank you for asking. All right, IUI versus IVF for unexplained subfertility. So I think the first thing is, what is the definition of unexplained infertility or unexplained subfertility? I guess it means that we've done all these tests, male and female, and all our gross tests. It might be ultrasounds, it might be semen analysis, it might be blood tests, endocrine work, and we've done all these tests, and everything according to the normative values appears normal. And so it's not really that it's unexplained, it's really that we probably don't have powerful or specific or sensitive enough tests in order to figure out exactly what is going on. And so often because of that, we kind of go, not sure what we should do, but we should probably do something because you're needing some assistance. And so a lot of people feel like this is a stepwise approach. And so I guess a stepwise to doing something rather than just continuing to time intercourse would be to do something like intrauterine insemination or IUI, where you take the sperm, you wash it up, you get rid of all the dead ones, you concentrate it into a pellet, you put that pellet into the endometrial cavity at around the time of ovulation. When do you know that? Well, you've tracked the cycle. And some people will give a little bit of stimulation to have you release not just one follicle, but 2 follicles, kind of to up the ante a little bit. Now, when you look at IUI success rates, generally speaking, we say that they're about double your background chance. So, you know, if you're much older and your chance of conceiving each month is only sitting at around 5%, then an IUI cycle might increase that to 10%. Well, it's double the background chance, but, you know, it's still 10%, 1 in 10 chance. And some people may say, that's not good enough. The benefit, I suppose, in going to something like IVF is that you are potentially answering an previously unanswered question, and that is, do you even fertilize? Do you fertilize? What's the quality of the early embryos? Do you develop a good number of embryos? Do you respond poorly to stimulation? What do the quality of the eggs look like? So it's the first time really that we get to see the interaction between the eggs and the sperm, and also what the quality of the early embryo development is like. So when you do compare IUI to IVF, it is comparing apples and pears. You are going to, by virtue of the fact that it is a much more invasive, involved process, you are going to have a higher clinical pregnancy rate, ongoing pregnancy rate, and live birth rate with IVF over IUI. But it is a much more involved process. So that was kind of a longer answer to the question than I thought I'd give, but hopefully that's helpful. Someone asked the question, Emma Alice Era, what are these and what's the value of these tests? So these are all assessments of the endometrium. So the Emma is looking at the microbiome. So we know that people have these signature balances of good and bad bugs, and that can change throughout a cycle, but it can also change throughout the window of implantation. And the Emma test, which is where you take a sample and run the genomics of the microbiome, is one such test to look at the signature. The Alice test is looking for evidence of chronic endometritis. We know that about 40% of bugs, pathological bugs, you can't actually culture. So just taking a sample and culturing it may not show the actual bugs. So you can run the genomics of the bugs. And then the endometrial receptivity is looking at kind of the right time to be putting the embryo back within that window of implantation. And so those three tests together are kind of looking to help people personalise when an embryo should go back into the lining to help overcome failed implantation of what we presume to be normal embryos. And, you know, the assessment of normal embryos is a whole nother topic in itself. It's certainly gaining ground. Who would I recommend these specific tests for? I guess somebody who's had knowingly had chromosomally normal embryos put back without success. That would be someone who might go down the pathway of assessing their endometrial receptivity. There's increasing evidence, and I do think somebody perhaps who's had a higher level of recurrent implantation failure certainly warrants consideration of these tests. And the third question that I was asked on message was recurrent biochemical pregnancies. What's going on here? Anytime that you are measuring a pregnancy hormone, so beta-HCG and ideally quantitative beta-HCG, is without actually determining if something is in the endometrial cavity, like a gestational sac or a fetal pole. When you're just measuring positive beta-HCG that then declines, that is deemed a biochemical pregnancy and then loss of a biochemical pregnancy. So it means that there is an embryo there, perhaps in the early stages. We know even an embryo before implantation does produce HCG, but of measurable quantity, really it's in the early stages of implantation, and then it has not progressed. So a biochemical pregnancy it's a pregnancy. It's a pregnancy of an embryo that has begun the implantation process. And, we know that embryos reach the endometrial cavity at around about day 5. So we know that it's a day 5 and beyond embryo that is attempting to implant and then has declined. So it is a pregnancy that should be included when looking or counting the number of pregnancies that you have had. And so when somebody has had 3 or more, that is deemed to be, it depends which hemisphere you're talking about, but certainly it's reasonable if someone is indicating that they're having recurrent pregnancy loss, perhaps more than 3, and they're measuring biochemical pregnancies. I certainly think it's worth starting to look at investigations for recurrent pregnancy loss or recurrent miscarriage. So that's really what people mean when they're talking about biochemical pregnancies. Some people don't find it a particularly nice term to use because there is the suggestion in some circles that that's not a pregnancy, but understanding the early physiology and biochemistry of pregnancies, it is deemed a pregnancy that you would definitely count. So there's some questions. I thought there were some really good questions, actually. Does anyone else have any other questions? Because I've still got a couple of minutes. Can't believe I actually answered those in a decent length of time. Anyone? Anyone have any questions, any quick questions that have just come into their head and thought, oh, I've actually got to ask that, Maria? Thank you. Anything else? Anything else? Gosh, what have I seen today that I thought is worth sharing? Struggling to think. You know how it all kind of melds into one? Melds into one. I was talking to someone about uterine septums today and how they happen. Yeah, I think, what can I share with you about a uterine septum? I suppose it's part of the Müllerian anomaly. A uterine septum is a fibrous band. It's very different to a bicornuate uterus. So a lot of people will actually, that's kind of part of the discussion today. We kind of, some people use the term bicornuate and septate uterus interchangeably, but actually they're really completely different things. And it matters from a pregnancy perspective because one can be treated surgically with a septoplasty to reduce recurrent miscarriage, and the other, it can impact on pregnancy, not so much fertility, but pregnancy, particularly mid-trimester and late pregnancy effects. But it's not something that can necessarily be managed surgically. Anyway, just a little bit of tidbit of information. They are completely different things, and it's really important that you get either direct vision with a hysteroscopy and a laparoscopy, or you get a good quality 3-dimensional ultrasound to be able to differentiate between the two. Guys, I think that's it. We've reached the 1:15 mark. I better actually go and say hello to my family, but I thought I wanted to jump on here. So I'm hoping, though, the answers to those questions were helpful, talking about IUI and IVF for unexplained infertility, Emma, Alice and Ira in assessing the endometrium, and also what is a biochemical pregnancy. Guys, I hope to speak to you soon. I should definitely be back to see you next Wednesday. I've been a bit remiss with my rapid fire Q&A, haven't I? But certainly I will make more of an effort to come back on and do that next week. Obviously, a couple of weeks ago, we had our beautiful guests from the Pink Elephant Support Network, and I'm hoping to bring some new guests to you very soon. Have a beautiful rest of your week. I hope you're all staying safe and well and happy, and I look forward to seeing your bright, shiny faces soon. See you later.